Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and we got more APK action for the upcoming January 8th Warriors of the Sky update. The first update, it so happens, of 2020. I can't stop saying 2020. Now, full disclosure, for this video, we are going to be checking out the 4 Warriors of the Sky, but the disclosure is a PSA warning type thing. This is a beta account. This is an APK. This is, in part with the, or sort of in partnership with the Star Agent program. So, any of the numbers, any of the results, any of the effects, those kinds of things, they can be changed. And hopefully they will be changed for characters or uniforms or tier 3s that seem weaker than they should be. But it's always hard to test. It's always hard to tell compared to your real account. Now, I'll show you guys the cards that they gave me on the test account. They're right here. Now, the card effects are good. The attack stats are good. And I've tried to build these characters well. But there's always certain things that end up, being different. There's nothing like the real thing, as I think Marvin Gaye said. I'm not sure. Anyways, so we're going to be checking out the Warriors of the Sky. Let me go through the builds really quickly for these characters. I've capped out their ignore defense and their cooldown as high as I could. And then everything else, I sort of just left it the way it was, except for War Tiger, as you will see. Because, except for War Tiger, the 3 other Warriors of the Sky all have an element associated with their damage. Sunbird deals fire damage, physical. Blue Dragon deals lightning, energy. And then Shadow Shell is the #1. Now, the #1 poison damage character in Marvel Future Fight. And she deals physical poison damage. So they all got, I rolled them all obelisks that have their damage plus a proc. So she's got a poison damage 180 proc. He's got a fire damage 140 proc, a little bit lower, but that's just what I could roll. She has a lightning damage 180 proc as well. And then War Tiger is the only one because, like I said, he deals physical damage, but he doesn't have any sort of element. It's just physical damage. I gave him a crit damage 180 proc. I gave him a crit damage 180 proc because his fourth skill gives him 25% crit rate for 10 seconds. That's really good. And so you'll be able to cap his crit rate a lot more easily. I mean, I'm at 25 and that'll jump to, or 26, and that'll jump to 51. So it's better to build his crit damage. Now, because they're mostly physical, that's the interesting thing here. 3 out of the 4 Warriors of the Sky are physical damage characters. We're going to be testing them out against the same level of Proxima. I want to test them out against the same stage, against the same boss, the same difficulty, so you can get a baseline of how good they seem compared to one another. It's very, very hard to compare them to your existing characters, your existing account, because, like I said, the cards are going to be different. The alliance level is different for me compared to you, and it's also like it's a test account, it's a beta account, so you can't really expect the numbers to 100% translate to what they do in the live version. So I want to test that out that way, except for Blue Dragon. She's going to do energy damage, which is going to take a huge hit against Proxima, so we're going to test her against Ebony. Also keep in mind that these characters may end up getting, some sort of buff in the future later on. But the one thing that we can't sort of gauge at all, whether you think they're weak now or strong now, the reason why I said they may get a buff in the future, because they may get a uniform in the future, but we can't test their PvP value at all. Timeline Battle crashes when you try to play it on the APK. There's no one to play Timeline Battle against because no one can play, so it's all just like 1-star level 1 bot accounts, which are basically the beginner tutorial accounts when you start a brand new account. Always the first few Timeline Battle fights, just to get your feet wet. It's going to be against like a MODOK Winter Soldier team with, again, 1-star level 1. So there's no way to test their PvP value. There's no way to do even Shadowland. So we're really just relegated to a few small game modes. But buff or not, you'll be able to see that they're... You won't be able to see... Whoa! That's a big miss. I don't know why the targeting is so whack there. We won't be able to see their value in PvP. But Shadow Shell, as you will be able to see, deals, in my opinion, pretty decent damage. And she uses the 5th skill to protect herself, and the 5th skill deals massive damage. And you can follow that up with the 4 and the... we might get snared here. We didn't get snared. Nice. We did get snared. I lied. So she also has the damage reduction. We did get guard broken there, which is a bit of a bummer. Let's see here. She seems to do pretty good damage on most of her skills. But 5 is really the sweet spot because it also has that accumulation. So we're just going to play about a minute of each character. We don't want to... Oh, 1 is like really good for movement. Wow. I hadn't used the 1 skill for movement, but it's actually so good. Can we pop 4 and then cancel that into 5? Yeah, we kind of can. It's a bit tricky. But 1 has really nice movement. 2 is kind of risky. But we just want to get that. Oh wow! So the fourth skill, or the fifth skill plants you there. That's interesting. I didn't realize that before when I was playing as Shadow Shell. This is going to be a really good attack because of the accumulation. Yeah, nice. So when you get that accumulation to land, she does so much damage. We're gonna finish it off by using her. We're gonna cancel 5 into 6 to use her ultimate skill. This is the Sky Kirin attack. And I want to show you guys something afterwards, actually, about the Sky Kirin attack specifically. Hers doesn't seem to do much damage, but it does leave this bubble. So it seems to be more of a support tier 3 skill, sort of like Namor's with less damage. But one thing I want to show you that's interesting about... So she's pretty good. I think Shadow Shell's pretty good. One thing that's interesting about Shadow Shell, or interesting about the 4 Warriors of the Sky that I tested on Shadow Shell, is that the ultimate skill does not level up when you level it up. For all characters, for the 4 Warriors of the Sky. I didn't do the best job of explaining it, but basically you can see here Venomous Roar is level 2, and when I got to level 2, it gave the remove all debuffs, which applies to all allies, I'm assuming inside that circle, so it seems to be a very PvP team-oriented, possibly GBR-oriented skill. And then when I upgrade it again, it's going to give her 50, well, it's going to give... Oh, actually, self, yeah. It's going to give her 15% crit rate for 8 seconds. But if we go to any of the other Warriors of the Sky, their Awakened skill is still level 1. So you do not level up all of the Awakened skills simultaneously. You have to level them up individually. So that will be something that you need to consider based on which characters you're going to play with more and which ones you have unlocked. So Shadow Shell seems pretty good. I didn't realize the first time playing her that the 5th skill doesn't have targeting, like the laser doesn't move. I guess it's pretty hard to animate, but yeah, we're gonna have to see how easy that is for it to miss. But when it doesn't miss, when it hits, it does really good. Like it's at least a bar of damage with the accumulation, and we've got a pretty standard build on her. And we've got no strikers as well. We've got just Goliath's leadership. But because they're mostly physical, we can use the same leadership and stuff. Here we're going to go with Sunbird next. And I wanted to... Okay. He has a really nice Paralyze on his 4th skill. But I was actually trying to proc on 5. You do want to proc on 5 rather than 4. Because 4 doesn't seem to have very good damage. I'm not really sure if he's supposed to be energy or physical because he doesn't seem to do that much damage to Proxima. The 4 also doesn't have targeting that stays around. He does have a heal on his 2nd skill, but as you guys can see, I'm already kind of in trouble. I think he's got a lot higher skill cap in terms of playing him. I think playing him is going to require a lot more attention to what's going on, but he does have a really nice Paralyze right at the beginning of the 4th skill, which allows you to then get into your combo more easily. But he does have a bit of a wind-up on some of his skills that can make it hard to sort of cancel out of, because you still want those effects. Like you can see there, the 2nd skill, I keep doing the 2nd skill for the heal, but then he, you know, stands there to cast the rest of the 2nd skill effect, and then you end up taking damage. So I think he's a little bit harder to play. He might have, again, more value in PvP than PvE. And he also might have some value as an elemental damage dealing character, whereas other ones don't. But even Namor with elemental damage can do high stages of Proxima, so it's not a problem. He just might get more benefit. I'm showing them all with the same leadership again, so you can compare them. But unlike... oh, geez, I'm going to die. Unlike Shadow Shell, he might get more value out of a fire damage leadership. I don't believe we have a poison damage leadership in the game at the moment. So he actually didn't survive. He actually died twice. Next up, we've got War Tiger. And War Tiger, bit of an interesting character. Oh, I canceled out of his 4th skill. A bit of an interesting character. He doesn't seem to be too hard hitting, despite the fact that he doesn't have many abilities that make him good for other content. Like, he doesn't seem to have any PvP abilities. He has quite a few hits, so he might benefit from like chain hit damage or something like that, but with no elemental damage to scale his damage like the Warriors of the Sky, and the fact that a lot of his skills actually interrupt his interrupt the proc because they hit in between, it's actually kind of difficult to time the procs correctly. This really cool thing that happens at the end of his ultimate skill, or his awakened skill, sorry, where like a bunch of, they look like horses or some kind of animal. Anyways, they sort of like jump back and forth. But I found it a bit hard to play as War Tiger. Now, he will clean up a lot of your mistakes because of his self-healing. He's got like a mini Wolverine self-heal, so even if you get hit, he also has 6 seconds of immunity on 5, so I think he'll be like a pretty easy character to play. But I'm not really sure about timing his damage proc. Like, I don't really see a good place to time it, and I don't really see a good rotation for him because 5 and 4 seem to have like anti-synergy, as it were. Yeah, he seems easy to play, and he's got some pretty animations. He's got some long iframes. 1, 2, and 3 are kind of just filler skills. It's really 5 and 4 where you get most of the value, but I'm not really sure what kind of build you would want to give him, because he doesn't have penetration, so he's going to need something like a CTP of Destruction, although he will synergize really well with Sunbird, because the only thing more annoying than a character that heals is a character that heals and revives. I just don't know whether I want to proc on his 5th skill or his 4th skill. You can see there I just completely missed the proc there, but now I procced on 4. But it's a long delay. Like, both his 5th skill and his 4th skill have a pretty long delay in between the first hit and the last hit. So it really spreads the damage out. I got guard broken there. It really spreads the damage out in a way that makes it a bit difficult to really see, like, where am I supposed to be trying to land these abilities, in what order. Should I be trying to cancel them at some point? It does make it a lot harder to figure this character out. I think unlike Shadow Shell, she's got a pretty obvious rotation. I think Sunbird and War Tiger are going to be a lot harder to master overall. Last but not least, I want to show you guys Blue Dragon, but first I want to show you Sunbird's Revive. So we're going to intentionally die here, and I'm going to show you guys that Sunbird's Revive actually applies to each team member individually instead of applying to the whole team. So there is a 300-second cooldown on the Revive, but it's for each character, because now we're going to switch to Sunbird, and Sunbird's going to die as long as I can kill him fast enough. I mean, that's not going to matter. I'm going to kill him. It's just going to take a certain amount of time. But he's going to die, and then you're going to see that he will also... Trust me, he also revives. Oh my... Stop. There we go. So he will also revive. So it's not a 300-second revive that is shared among all the characters, which means that you would still only get 1 revive. It's actually an individual revive that each character automatically gets, and then each individual revive has a 300-second cooldown on it. So technically, if you were playing GBR and you died at like the, in the 2nd minute, and then you died again for some reason, you could come back again at the end of the fight. After 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes, because GBR is a 10-minute battle. Now, I wouldn't wish that kind of suffering on anyone, but I'm just letting you guys know that it is possible. Now, I will say this about Blue Dragon. She does seem to have very high potential, and Ebony is one of the weaker world bosses, especially when you can apply all defense down or elemental resistance down. But the thing that I find about Blue Dragon is, again, really, really hard to play. I feel like there is some sort of, rotation or code or strategy that I'm missing out on. Shadow Shell seems really easy to play. You use 5, you don't cancel 5, and then you can sort of splash in 1, 2, 3, and 4 for iframes, for movement. But with the other characters, it's difficult to realize, like, when am I supposed to cancel these skills? 4 seems to be the most damaging skill, but you don't want to proc on 4. I mean, you do want to proc on 4, but you also want to be able to, cancel in 5 and stuff like that and get some extra damage. You also want to do either 5 or I believe 2 for the lightning resistance. So you need to squeeze those skills in as well at some point before or after. So again, I feel like I'm saying this a lot, but yeah, 3 of these 4 characters seem to be quite difficult to master in terms of their rotations. They don't seem to be designed in a way that's very similar to existing characters that I've played, which would make mastering their rotations a lot easier for me. Like, her 4th skill seems like it does a lot of damage, but it has a lot of hits, and you can't cancel it. I feel like a lot of the Warriors of the Sky have skills that you don't really want to cancel because you want to get the full effect, which is nice because you get to see all the animations. The animations are beautiful, but it also makes the characters harder to master because of just a trickier rotation and less canceling. I prefer characters that cancel less, to be honest. because I like to see their skills, and I like more of a smooth rhythm. I don't like this frenetic playstyle where you're canceling everything. That's why I never liked Apocalypse. That's why I'm not the biggest fan of Cable, although Cable's strong. It depends on how you like to play, but Blue Dragon is also pretty easy to play because of her very high ignore dodge. She's got, I think, 30%. So you can see here, I'm face tagging him. I'm not really relying on iframe, so to speak. Like, she doesn't have an iframe on 2. I don't think 4 has an iframe either, but she's able to survive anyways because of the invincibility, but also because of her dodge. So, yeah. Hard to say if this is a good time for the character. I mean, there's no strikers here. This is stage 35, but it's on a test account, but she's got 65% all attack. So I wanted this to be more of a preview of what you guys can expect for these characters and their playstyles. I don't think this should be used as a method of gauging the strength of these characters. I don't think you should be like, oh my god, she's so terrible. She takes 2 minutes. It's going to take her 5 minutes to kill Ebony. I think when we get these characters on our hands in the actual live game, you know, your real account, my real account, the characters will seem stronger if they seem weak now. And just so you guys know, like, I didn't build these characters at all besides giving them Uru and ISO just to cap their ignore defense and their cooldown. I didn't focus on anything else. I didn't focus on their attack stats. I didn't focus on their crit. The only one that got any sort of extra buff was War Tiger, because he doesn't need an element to buff his damage. But having that elemental buff as well does allow them a little bit more flexibility. I mean, you could run Blue Dragon's leadership, but you could also run like Lincoln's leadership if you wanted to. And then, of course, you have to factor in strikers and all that stuff. So I do think these characters, I think all of them have beautiful animations. I think they're all pretty fun to play, and they have fluid play styles. They're just higher skill cap than we're used to with some of the characters that have come out recently. They've been kind of, you know, Deadpool's holiday uniform is a 2-skill rotation. Sabretooth's uniform is a 2-skill rotation. There have been a few uniforms lately that have made the game seem pretty easy and pretty kind of simple to grasp. But I do think that for the most part, these characters, I think besides Shadow Shell, they seem to be a lot harder to play on average. And they take a longer skill cap, which means it's just going to take me and you more time to master these characters. I obviously haven't had a lot of time to master them, anytime at all. So that's why I'm still learning the ins and outs of these characters' rotations, even learning what the skills do in the game, because I just hadn't had Proxima dodge the Venomous Destruction when I had cast it, and that was the first time I ever saw her just like piece to the side, and then the laser just completely misses. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of the Warriors of the Sky gameplay. Who do you think is going to come out on top as the most meta character? Very, very difficult to predict their PvP value, but from the PvE perspective, who do you think takes the cake here? Is it going to be Sunbird, Blue Dragon, War Tiger, or Shadow Shell? Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you want to see next. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.